Welcome back to Divorce Dads Ask. Every Wednesday, I take real questions from real dads in the rebuild, guys from school, stuff that comes in on comments, podcast questions, and I unpack them honestly. No filters, no perfect answers, just truth and tools for the man doing the hardest work there is. Today, I have a couple questions. The first one is from a dad trying to reach his teenagers through the silence and the friction. The second one is from a man who wants to change, who knows he needs to change, but somewhere deep down doesn't actually believe it's possible for him. Both of these are more common than any dad will admit. Let's dig into it. Let's dig into this first one. Question came in from a dad in our school community. His teenagers are pulling away. There's friction. They don't want to talk. He's not alienated. He can see his kids. He can legally all do that. So there's none of those parameters in place. There's just friction, and he's looking like the bad guy, right? His kids are thinking he's the bad guy, 16 and 13. And he said to me, he said, "Anthony, I just feel like I need to write them a note. I want to reach out, but how much do I say? Do I share?" He went into like, do I share how hard this is for me? Do I share, that this is tearing me apart to not hear from you or to receive text messages that are just so tough to hear as a dad? As one of his kids had just said, "Hey, Dad, you don't have to text me." What do I say? What do I not say? And look, I know there's a lot of ways to go about this. And what was really interesting was when this dad asked this question, another dad in the group was also giving input. So I'm going to first give the input that this other dad had said, because he came from a divorced family and his parents divorced when he was a teenager. And life went on. And this guy in our group who had been divorced, his parents had been divorced when he was a teenager, he said that he really lost track of his dad. His dad didn't contact him. His dad didn't reach out to him. There was animosity between him and his father until college, where they finally got together and they kind of talked it through and worked it out. And it's okay now. But he goes back and he said, "You know what? When he talked to his dad and said, 'Dad, why didn't you reach out?' And there was this conversation, and I think looking back that this dad ultimately said, 'Hey, as an adult, reach out to your kids, and make that connection. Don't expect a teenager to have the emotional awareness or capacity to manage through this. I mean, just look how hard it is for you. Now multiply that times 1,000 for a teenager going through what they're going through and then trying to unpack their emotions with you. This is a moment for a dad to step up and be a superhero. So here is what I shared with him. I said, "Look, I think it's a great idea that you want to write to your child, to your kids, to your teens. Great idea. It's never a bad idea to tell them something." I said, "When you write," and this is for all of you listening, "when you write something to your children, write it from a place of power." And what do I mean by power? I want you to imagine that you have $1 million in the bank. I want you to imagine you have the job you want, the business you want, that your mind is in the place that you want. You're a place of peace. You're at a place of power. You're a place of joy. Then write the note. And I said, "Look, the reality of it is you don't need to unpack all those things in a note for a teenager. They're not going to want to hear that. They barely want to hear your text." So something simple was, "Hey, I just want you to know I love you. I'm for you. I'm here for you. And I can't wait to see you again. Love you, Dad." Why? What is that? That's a power move, power note from a place of power. You don't need to get into all the details. There's going to come a time when you sit with your child, you sit with your teen, and you can unpack some of those things that need a lot more than a letter to get through. But for that moment, pour into them courage. Pour into them the love that you have. Pour into them that you're still there. And in the meantime, still stay connected. Don't allow their that moment to damage what you need to do in those places and situations. You are a great dad. You are a great man. And when you write and you send notes, when you're in a place of power, when you're at a place of peace, when you're at a place of love, when you're at a place of joy, all those emotions are high energy, right? High level thinking, high level thoughts. You're going to produce the things that you really want your children to hear. And that is why it's so important to not just write it from a power position of those emotions, a power position of joy and peace and love and happiness, but when you're with them. That is why the internal is so important, that when you do see them, you're not in guilt, you're not in shame, you're not in fear, and you're not in worry. Those are the lowest energy states, which are going to give off that energy and that to your children. Scripture says that we think on those things that are good, lovely, and a good report. Galatians 5 says that we have the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, self-control, all of those. So when you are interacting, when you are building your internal dialogue, your internal self, your self-talk and your mind, you're going to produce the energy that you want, not just for your children, but it's going to overflow in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your dad life, in your mental clarity. That is the power that you need to be in before you write or text or have those conversations. That was some of the things that I leaned into him. And I hope that's helpful for you. If you have other questions, feel free to drop those in the chat as well. That's how you need to write letters. That's how you need to show up. Show up with that energy and that emotion. Say, Anthony, how do I do that? You need to daily put that inside of you. You need to daily get reps in your mind for that. That is how you get through that. In our school group, we talk a lot about this. We talk about these mental reps. We talk about this visualization. We talk about this energy. Get in the group, start working, start building with other dads and getting accountable. Your life will transform. Those of you that haven't subscribed or any of that, drop a follow, drop a sub on Spotify and Apple. Leave a comment, question, whatever you have. I'm here for you. I want to have hundreds of thousands of dads transforming through a podcast. That's the goal here. I want 1 million dads transformed. Right now, we're going to go for a couple 100,000 on this thing every single day and week. All right. Leave out all those, back to the note, just leave out all the negative stuff. Leave all the low energy. Leave all the sadness and the guilt. Leave that for another time. You have to be a leader. And a leader is the one who's telling himself how he's feeling, even when he doesn't feel that way. You lead through it and you grow through it. Second question here, for sake of time. This question isn't one that got submitted directly. It's one that I see living underneath almost every conversation I have with dads who are stuck. The questions come in indirectly in different ways, and I just packed this one together for you because I think it's really helpful for you, those of you guys on the fence. Everything that's going on the internet, everything that's going on in the world today. It is one of the most difficult times to actually trust somebody. So here's the question. Anthony, I see other men rebuilding. I see it working for them. I listen to this podcast. I'm in the community. I know what I need to do, but somewhere inside, I don't actually believe it'll work for me. I've tried before and it hasn't. I'm not sure I'm the kind of man this works for. How do I rebuild when I don't actually believe that I can? This is most guys and most things, because of the oversaturation of get rich quick, or fix this in 7 seconds, all of those things has now brought so much distrust in what's going on. So this guy sees the path. He's actually seeing other guys. He's in the community. He's seeing other guys build. He's seeing real people talking and sharing stories and wins. And somewhere in there for him, he has this bad taste in his mouth. Will it work for me? And in addition to that, it's like, Do I want to pay for something? And what if it doesn't work? What if I pay this and it's not what I get? And these are questions that I had a lot of times. I was a guy that would do everything I could possibly do to not pay for a $47 course or not pay for a $7,000 course. I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll hack the system. I'll do whatever. You know what I just realized? That all that thinking is so limiting. It's so limiting because I'm looking at just the cost and I'm not looking at the investment of what this could actually do for my life. And what would that transformation mean for me to get my mind in order, to get my life in order, to get my children in order? What would that mean? What would that be worth to me? What would peace in my mind, having that consistent replay of peace, what would that cost? What would that be? And so with guys like this, some of the things that I share with them is first, like, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. If you could believe you can climb the mountain, you believe you can't, you will or you won't. And you have to ask yourself this question: is what I'm doing working? Are you getting the results with what you're doing? If you're not, and you're looking for other things to do and to try, then that is the sign to take the risk. A guy in our group the other night was having anxiety and anxiousness about not doing a couple things that he was wanting to do. He was talking about reading, he was talking about putting his plan together, and he just kept avoiding it. And it would be like as clear as day. And I said, hey, man, that's actually awesome. Okay, there's procrastination in there, but let me share with you a positive win of this. One is you're aware to it. Number two is the friction is actually the sign of what you need to do next. Ryan Holiday has a great book called The Obstacle is the Way. When you feel the fear, the anxiety, and the worry, that is a great signpost to say, that's what I need to do next. That's where I need to go. For this individual that's like, hey, what do I need to do next? The fact that he has so much friction, he has so much fear, he has so much worry is the reason why he needs to go and do that thing. Go and join that, join our school group or get in our climb community or hire a one-on-one coach. If you are that, if you're feeling it at that level, guys, that is the sign. That is the guide. That is the alert that's saying, hey, dude, do this. Because what's going to happen is you're going to understand that fear is always there. It does not go away. What you learn is that the fear is actually the door forward. That is the movement you need to go into. What you fear. There's some guys that talk recently about doing their taxes. Man, he then began to, work in our group. Now he knows, hey, when I feel that fear of money or tax or anything regarding money, that's what I need to do first. For you, if there's something going on in your business, if there's something going on with your mind and fear and worry, that's what you need to attack first. So the fear runs a very convincing argument. It's actually a trick, because what fear knows is that if you go through it, that's the door you need to go for what's next, for the hope, for the light, for what you need, for what you want, for where you're growing. In the neuroscience, and I'll close with this. In the neuroscience, psychologists call this an action belief loop. Belief rarely precedes action in meaningful change. It follows it. The brain updates its beliefs based on evidence. So you create the evidence by moving first. That's really powerful because you don't always have all the answers when you're making a decision. Maybe it's when you're buying a house. Maybe it's buying a car. Maybe it's getting a new job. You actually don't know what walking through that door is going to look like. You're hoping, you're checking everything, but you do not have absolute certainty. But you know what? You make the decision and you make the move and you walk through, and then you create what is next. So that it's a powerful brain understanding of what that does, of creating the movement, and then the belief comes next. Starting to climb, and the belief comes next. So one of those things is by tracking your wins. And that's what I tell this guy is like, hey, track some wins to see what was working for you, so you can see and say, hey, does this make sense for me? And I believe that as you begin to attack those fears, instead of just allowing them to overthink, overprocess, trying to get so much information, make the perfect decision, You're not going to. And you're going to miss out on so much time and so many things that you have for you. I want to close with this. Um, I just believe you guys are in the right place at the right time with the right people. And you need to move forward and do the things you know you need to do. Those of you guys that are waiting to do something, you're capping yourself, you're capping your kids. I know it's hard. I know you don't want to hear this a lot of times, but I'm here to tell you that if you don't change, you're not going to change. You've got to make the change. It doesn't just happen. It's not just a unicorn that shows up. This is real life that happens. And you dig into the trenches and say, I'm going to create what I want next. And you know what else is helpful? When you're with a bunch of other guys that are doing it as well, it's actually really helpful. You're in a group, you're working with each other. Some guys are partnering up and all those things, man. Like it is powerful. So stop thinking you're doing it alone. And if you are doing it alone, please stop. It's one of the stupidest things that you can do in this season, in this moment. It was one of the worst things that I was doing that was keeping me stuck and holding me back. Ask questions, get curious, find out from people that are all the way through the journey, invest in yourself. The ROI is going to be far greater than you ever imagined. Again, those of you that haven't subbed or dropped a follow, do that now for us. Drop a comment or a question, share it with a dad. Let's get this thing rolling. Let's get this thing out to as many dads as possible. Let's help them. Let's transform 1 million dads and their life and legacy. That's what we're doing. I love you guys. I'm with you. I'm for you. I'll see you on the next one. Love you.